I have been in agony for 4 weeks now because I saw this episode 4 weeks ago, and finally today I'm getting to talk about it.
I did my waiting! 12 years of it! In Azkaban!
This episode gave me the feeling that I had of being at the edge of my seat and being absolutely gobsmacked after watching Infinity War. Today, of course, we're talking about Loki episode 204, and I am actually in shock that this episode exists. I have talked at length about the ethical dilemmas and the ideologies of each specific character in this second season really being the crux of what the season is about and how people manage themselves and their society in a crisis. I think what makes these ethical dilemmas and ideological struggles for how you deal with a society in crisis so compelling is the fact that everyone in this situation is vying for some type of power. And that's part of the beauty of seeing the TVA kind of falling apart, right? Like last season, there was a distinct power structure that kind of flipped our previous understanding of Loki being a god and having magical powers on its head because there was a bureaucratic organization in front of him that saw him as basically a prisoner, kind of put him near the bottom, and he kind of made his way up the ranks. But here we have characters kind of starting from ground zero, because even if they don't want power for malevolent or malicious reasons, they still crave that opportunity, or they crave the order that they could bring, or they crave getting back to the way things were. And so that is such a great part of this season, and you get to see these characters, no pun intended, become different variants of themselves, and I really love that. The dialogue continues to be incredible in the show. The scenes in which the show really flexed its writing muscles were when Loki and Sylvie are having the discussion in the dining hall pie room and discuss, is it ethical to play God here? What are we doing? We need to be on the same page, with of course that powerful line of Sylvie saying but then we're playing God, and Loki going, but we are gods. And it's this reminder that we've also had this season with getting to see their powers on full display, is the fact that they're different than these other variants from the sacred timeline. But does that give them the right to kind of do whatever they want? That's, again, what makes this show so interesting. However, it delivers in the giggles department. It delivers with the comedy, and specifically, again, in that comedic dialogue. And here, I think it is so good between OB and Victor Timely. The dynamic of OB, we all love, and then you have Victor Timely. It stresses us out because even though this is a different variant of him that may never come to be evil, like a King the Conqueror or like a He Who Remains, it makes us unsettled to see a character that we've come to love so quickly and that we find in some ways innocent, like an OB, next to a character that is so looming. We get to see the comedy be played up in this situation where we should be really tense. But what works so great about that is the juxtaposition of that tension you feel, and then the fact that they're just getting along about sciencey stuff, and this manual that they kind of co-wrote. It's so good. Additionally, the Sylvie Mobius spat about pie and kind of this inconsequential motif throughout these last couple episodes, and how Mobius has not really accepted the fact that he's a variant too, that he's kind of connected to what they're doing because he's kind of acting as this outsider, but the fact that he is a variant himself, that conversation is so good. All in all, the dialogue this episode was just phenomenal. I also think, and this is me putting on my little film degree hat here, that if season 1 is about free will and self-determination, this ability to change who you are, for Loki to not be a villain, if it's about his ability to change kind of from a villain to a hero, from someone who is unloved and abandoned to someone who kind of gets to know himself, literally, again. If that's what season 1 is about, season 2 is about how you rule, or how you learn to be a person with power, authority, and in charge when your personal interests are conflicting with the need for order, structure, and peace. Here, when we kind of have all of our characters laid out, everyone's together and everyone has a different approach to this problem, including Miss Minutes of all people. It's exploring that, what wins out at the end of the day, and does that end up defining who you are. I apologize if I've been really harping on like how much I love these ethical and ideological dilemmas, but it is such good television fodder. It is something that you can explore episode by episode, growth of a character over time, that a movie just wouldn't allow you to do, and feels very much like someone sat down with a master plan and was like, I want to get from point A to point B, but let's layer everything in there and make sure it's all there and available for you, almost to either track along what might happen, again, create great theories. And this is what I thought the MCU did in its prime the absolute best. And this is what I think a lot of the other Marvel shows fail at. For example, this episode, we get payoff on the spaghettification effect of the first episode that's discussed. We get the payoff on the pruning of Loki, finding out that that was indeed him. We also get payoff on the cube machine in the holding cell that sort of threatened in episode 2, something that I thought was just like as a prop to demonstrate Loki's shadiness or have you doubt him as a character and how far he has or hasn't come. But we see it again here. Additionally, we get the payoff of Victor's advice from last episode. We get to see that, like, oh, this isn't just to tell us that, like, oh, he had the idea for the TVA all along, but be like, this is actually a purposeful point that is going to lead to this manual that we saw in 1, 2, and 3, that is going to lead to solving the problem potentially. It's so good. Sorry about that. Setting up all your props to ensure that by the end of the story, there is payoff time and time again. And to follow that up, I know I've done absolutely nothing but praise season 2 so far. I feel that Marvel realized that this was the one series, the show that they could not screw up on. Like, they had no room to mess up the storyline because A, the character has been around for, I think Thor came out in 2009 or 2010. So 13 to 14 years. Guy has been playing this role for this long and still wants to be involved in a heavier capacity even than just as an actor. So that's one. You don't want to piss off an actor that wants to work with you time and time again and is as talented, loved, and in demand as Tom Hiddleston. But B, because the first season of the show was so loved and done so well that doing a second season that did not do that first season justice or improve upon it would have probably lost people. And last, I will leave you with the fact that I said this in the beginning. I was delivered these episodes 4 weeks ago, and they gave 4 out of a total of 6 episodes for season 2 to the people who were delivered screeners. What that indicates to me is a sincere confidence in what they were doing with season 2. And I have praised it, and maybe you feel differently than I do about the season. You're more than welcome to let me know about that in the comments. But usually when you give someone the opportunity, a screener, a reviewer, anyone who's a critic, when you give them the opportunity to screen the content so far in advance from the date the public will see that item, it sends a message of confidence. I'll give you 2 little examples in case you don't believe me. When Top Gun Maverick came out last year, my screening was like the first 2 or 3 days of May. And then the movie did not come out till the very end of that month. So again, kind of giving people a full month window. And the embargo for it was very early before the film even came out to generate good press, to let people get good word of mouth out. In contrast, a movie like Morbius, that movie had a screening at like 2 p.m. on the Wednesday or Thursday before the film released, and the embargo was held up until like the night before the release. So long story short, that embargo being really close to the public release of the film indicates that the studio doesn't want any sort of possible negative press to get out about the project that would deter the public for seeing it. Like, they want it to be close enough that the public probably hasn't seen any sort of critical opinion of the film or project before going to see it. So that's just a lot of mumbo jumbo probably, and you're like, why are you even telling me this? The point is that I feel that whoever is in charge of this project or releasing it or getting it to screeners really felt a sincere confidence in this project. The last thing I didn't really write about was the cliffhanger of this episode is the most insane thing, and the fact that there was no post-credit scene, that it ended, and then I had to sit on it for 4 weeks has been agonizing, to tell you the least. I needed to share the visceral reaction, like the screaming that I did at the television, the like pacing around. I just could not believe that Marvel would take this risk. And I have a lot of confidence and theory that Loki will be back in next week's episode, no problem. Like, I think there's going to be some way in which he was pulled out of time at all places the way he was in the first episode. But boy, was that incredible. Please, of course, as always, leave your opinions down below. And if you enjoyed this review of Loki or want to talk more about Marvel projects, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe and help me hit my goal of hitting 5,000 subscribers before my birthday. We are so close to 4,000, and I think with a little bit of your help, we can get to 5,000 by then. Thank you all so much for watching. I sincerely appreciate your support on all of my Loki reviews. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys. Sasha from editing. So remember that theory I mentioned I had in the episode 202 review? Well, here it is. So Regina Renslayer, we know her, we kind of hate her right now. My thought process is that she is not just an assistant of King. She is not just a confidant. She is not merely a lover of King. She is a variant of King. This is my theory. I feel like it kind of goes along with like Loki and Sylvie being variants of one another, or of the like original Loki, whatever. That's my theory, okay? I feel like it also may solve some issues for Marvel down the line, should they need to, without going into stuff. And so that's my theory.